NYPD chief has just revealed shocking details about P. Diddy's secret underground freak-off tunnels. Yes, tunnels. Hidden right beneath his mansions. With allegations piling up, federal raids uncovering firearms, drugs, and explicit tapes, this could be the beginning of Diddy's biggest scandal yet. Is this a witch hunt, or are the authorities onto something bigger? We're diving deep into all of it, but before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to stay updated on the latest breaking news. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Diddy's legal team calls it a witch hunt, but the evidence found in these raids is raising serious questions, and people are demanding answers. This situation is heating up fast. In March, when federal agents raided Diddy's homes, it quickly became apparent that he was in deep legal trouble. According to former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McKay, much of the federal investigations seemed to be rooted in the civil lawsuits that had already been filed against Diddy. These lawsuits claim that videotapes existed, which allegedly documented Diddy's involvement in criminal activities. With that in mind, it was clear that federal authorities would be eager to find any such evidence that could support the allegations made against him. There were also claims of excessive force used during the raids, but McKay, like many others, defended the actions of the federal agents. He explained that they were simply doing their jobs, especially given Diddy's troubled past with the law. Law enforcement had every reason to take extra precautions to protect themselves during the raids. This explanation is also tied to rumors that Diddy's homes had secret underground tunnels, although those rumors were eventually proven to be false. However, given Diddy's wealth and influence, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to imagine that someone like him could have hidden tunnels for escaping or even storing illegal weapons and drugs. Jaguar Wright, a singer and outspoken critic of the music industry, also commented on the situation.
He's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
She stated that the federal agents were doing what was necessary. If they had strong enough reasons to believe that illegal activities were taking place inside Diddy's homes, it only made sense for them to take strict measures to ensure they uncovered any wrongdoing. For Wright, the actions of law enforcement were justified, and she believed they were just following protocol. Now that the official indictment has been revealed, the thoroughness of the federal raids on Diddy's homes makes much more sense. Videos of the aftermath of the raids quickly spread across social media, showing the chaotic state in which his homes were left. People watching those videos could tell that something big was about to unfold in the coming months. The extensive nature of the searches hinted at the seriousness of the investigation, and it left many anticipating major revelations. When federal agents eventually disclosed what they had discovered during the raids, the findings shocked many people. The agents reported finding a variety of disturbing items, ranging from firearms and drugs to lubricants and even IV fluids. These discoveries painted a troubling picture of Diddy's lifestyle and the events that took place in his homes. What became clear was that Diddy's infamous parties, often referred to as freak-offs, were much more extreme than the usual celebrity gatherings. The sheer volume of illicit substances and items suggested that these parties were far beyond what anyone might expect from even the wildest events. What made matters worse was the revelation that Diddy allegedly forced his victims to participate in these freak-offs. The federal authorities highlighted his violent past as evidence that his involvement in these crimes wasn't just casual or minor. Instead, they painted a picture of Diddy as someone who actively coerced others into participating in these events, further supporting the criminal charges against him. Legal experts believe that this case is far from over. Trial attorney Richard Schoenstein explained that the investigation is likely to expand.
What are your thoughts on these announced charges? Do you think more are potentially coming?
I definitely think more is to come. I mean, among other things, the indictment, which was unsealed this morning, the only person named is Sean Combs. Now, it says that he did all of these things in conjunction with other people, but it doesn't name them. It doesn't name the co-conspirators. It doesn't name the victims. It doesn't name witnesses. So there has to be more down the road, and it's going to be very interesting, Nicole, to see exactly who becomes a defendant, because I do expect other prosecutions, who becomes a witness or maybe gets out of being a defendant by being a cooperating witness, and who comes forward as a witness cooperating. It was mentioned that Cassie's lawyer was in court this morning, and I think the supposition is that she's cooperating with this investigation. We have an indictment that says a lot of things that were in her complaint last year.
With more individuals potentially being named as defendants in the future, he suggested that federal authorities might soon reveal additional people involved in these crimes, and that it would be interesting to see if any of these individuals would strike deals to testify against Diddy in exchange for lighter sentences or immunity. The involvement of more defendants could add complexity to the case and bring even more evidence to light. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is working around the clock to come up with a defense strategy. One possible argument they might use is that all the activities at Diddy's parties were consensual. If they can convince the court that everyone who participated did so willingly, it could reduce the severity of the charges against Diddy. However, this argument might be difficult to prove, especially with the number of victims and the evidence already gathered by the federal authorities.
We made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and I believe inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me, but everything's on the government's timetable, nothing's on the defendant's timetable, and they're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that. He's ready, he's focused, he has been ready to defend this case since he first found out about this case. Nothing has changed from his perspective. I obviously would much prefer to fight this case with him out of jail, and we are going to try to bring that about through additional legal process. But wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
Despite the defense's efforts, many people believe that Diddy's legal troubles are only beginning, and his future looks bleak. One person who shares this view is Larry Levine, a former inmate and prison consultant. Levine, who has extensive experience with the prison system, believes that Diddy's time in prison will be anything but pleasant. He noted that Diddy has already been placed on suicide watch, a move that indicates the seriousness of his situation and the difficult road ahead.
And director and founder of Wall Street Prison Consultants, Larry Levine, joins me now. Larry, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with me.
Glad to be with you.
So this jail's conditions, have been described as dirty, notorious for mice, maggots, inmate violence, power outages. You spent 10 years in 11 different facilities, so you know what life is like for him right now. Take us behind the scenes.
I was also at MDC Los Angeles. It's like a cookie cutter of the MDC in New York. So yeah, I do know. But he's sitting in the shoe. He's in the hole. And this guy is going through loneliness, anxiety, desperation. He's on suicide watch, and they hand out like psych meds, like they're M&Ms to these inmates to try to get them to cope with what's going on. So his entire existence is to sit in this little cell, essentially. He can shower 3 times a week. He's not getting any real visits. If his lawyer does a legal visit, they have to come upstairs into the special housing unit to see him.
Federal prosecutor Neema Rahmani also weighed in on the case. Rahmani pointed out that it usually doesn't take this long, 6 months, to review evidence after a raid of this magnitude. He believes the delay was intentional, as the authorities likely spent the extra time securing witnesses and making sure that Diddy wouldn't be able to reach or intimidate them. By taking their time, the prosecutors ensured that their case was as strong as possible before moving forward. Derek Parker, also known as the hip-hop cop, offered additional insight into Diddy's situation. Parker, who has had a long history of working on cases involving hip-hop artists, mentioned that this wasn't the first time Diddy found himself in legal trouble. Parker was involved in Diddy's arrest back in the 1990s, and he shared that Diddy is unlikely to remain at the Metropolitan Detention Center for much longer. Instead, he'll probably be transferred to a different facility as the legal process continues.
What happened, like I said, P. Diddy he was involved in a lot of stuff. So I got called because I had created this hip hop squad. The chief and the commissioner wanted somebody to deal who was knowledgeable of the violent acts in the rap community. They didn't understand that there were so many problems in this rap community with rappers being perpetrators, being victims, and things such as that. So he wanted me to create a unit to deal with them. So I had to be out at night, at bars, at clubs, at concerts, and things like that. Not putting cases on them or following them, but to look out, to make sure that there was no violence or how I could try to quell the violence in this community.
Many people close to Diddy have suggested that those in his inner circle were fully aware of what was happening at his infamous parties. A close friend of Diddy's mentioned that anyone who spent time around him had to know about the activities going on during these events. It would be hard to imagine someone being close to Diddy and not being aware of what was happening behind closed doors. This raises questions about how many people might have been complicit or turned a blind eye to his actions. Legal affairs journalist Megan Cuniff added her perspective to the case.
What stood out to me the most in the situation was how cooperative Diddy has been in the investigation coming up to this, in that he was clearly trying to build a case that he could be trusted outside of custody. It was remarkable to me the correspondence that his lawyers have had with attorneys over the last, or with the prosecutors over the last few months, and how they readily admitted that he anticipated these charges and actually went to New York wanting to turn himself in. But I think the federal prosecutors laid out a pretty solid case yesterday about why his flight risk has increased exponentially since the charges were filed, and also the violent nature of the charges they were saying does not support release at all. So he's going to have another chance this afternoon, but I'm not sure if he's going to get a different scenario.
Noting that Diddy's friends and associates could be key witnesses for federal prosecutors. If these individuals are willing to testify, it would not only strengthen the case against Diddy, but also provide prosecutors with more time to gather additional evidence. By leveraging the testimony of those closest to Diddy, the authorities might be able to uncover even more details about his alleged crimes and build an even stronger case. As more people come forward with their experiences and accusations, the federal case against Diddy continues to grow. His arrest has given many of his alleged victims the courage to speak out and share their stories. However, not everyone has been able to escape backlash. For example, the members of Diddy Kane.
I think Diddy Kane. I think a couple of them didn't sign it. And boy, oh boy, they probably gonna go after him too.
A former girl group that worked with Diddy have filed a sexual assault lawsuit against him, adding yet another layer to the mounting legal challenges Diddy faces. This case shows no signs of slowing down.
He said, yo, I'ma drug their ass off and pick them up and pip them out to my,
And more developments are likely on the horizon. The ongoing legal battle surrounding P. Diddy continues to unfold, with federal raids exposing a range of disturbing evidence, from firearms and drugs to explicit recordings allegedly tied to criminal activities. Despite Diddy's legal team calling it a witch hunt, the severity of the allegations, including claims of forced participation in his notorious freak-off parties, suggests that this investigation is far from over. As more victims come forward and prosecutors build their case, Diddy faces an uphill legal fight. The defense will likely argue the consensual nature of the events, but with mounting evidence and witness testimonies, his future remains uncertain. This case is rapidly gaining momentum and could lead to further revelations or charges in the coming months. Stay tuned for the latest updates on this developing situation, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new information.